Video number 112. What is a secret society? From MythoReligio series, Book 5. Dear fellow truth seekers, in my last video number 111, I've told you that I'll be sharing the content of my MythoReligio Book 5, History of the Dark Side. I finished writing this book in 2016, so some of the data might seem outdated, but boy, is this book correct about many things today in 2026, and it seems to be accelerating. So, without further ado, let me read you the first chapter of this book. Chapter 1. Secret Society. When you search and read information concerning the origin and prehistory of humanity, be it from the point of view of religion, science, or alternative theories, I believe you'll be as confused as I am or was. All the information seems to be conflicting with one another. Why is that? Well, the short answer is because the people in power, i.e. our leaders, our governments, or simply put, the elites, twist and keep the true information as a secret to control and dominate the rest of the population of the world for their own benefit. If you think this statement is crazy, think again. Do you really think most of our world leaders take the position of leadership because they care about the common people, or because they want power to exploit them? Let's go back to history for a while. Have you ever wondered, how did the monarchy system emerge? How did the first king become king? He must have been a powerful man who took the position of power either by election or by force, most likely after he has proven his strength in a battle or something like that, right? That first king might be a strong and good ruler, but how did he justify that his eldest son would have the right to the throne after his death? What if he is weak or ignorant, or worse, evil person? How did this heir to the king manage to stay in power? Well, despite having the final say, i.e. controlling on everything that involves the land and the people that live in his kingdom, a king or a queen actually never stands alone. He always has a small group of people backing him up. He usually has an advisor and other appointed people to regulate different aspects of governing, i.e. ministers, and most importantly, he must have armies. Military armies are very important. In fact, in the feudal system, which is the dominant social-economic system in medieval monarchy Europe, is based on military service. This is the definition of feudalism in the Oxford Dictionary. The dominant social system in medieval Europe, in which the nobility held lands from the crown in exchange for military service, and vassals were in turn tenants of the nobles, while the peasants, villeins or serfs, were obliged to live on their lord's land and give him homage, labor, and a share of the produce, notionally in exchange for military protection. Now, we all understand that the society without a leader may be chaotic, but there must be a law that applies for our leaders as well. After all, they're just humans too. It is scary if one person can hold all the power in one land. Now, look back at the definition of feudalism above. Here's the problem. Who decides how much the peasants have to share, i.e. pay tax, of their produce? Who decides how long do the peasants have to labor? And why on earth did the peasants have to pay homage, i.e. respect or honor shown publicly to their lords? If you notice, that means the lords, nobilities, and royalties don't have to work unless there is a war. And notice also the use of the word notionally, meaning hypothetically or imaginary. How did they manage to have so much power like this? Peasants in medieval Europe that make up to 90% of the whole population were not entitled to have their own land. They lived very poorly and worked to the bone like slaves. Meanwhile, the monarchs and nobles live in their castles. Another thing that keeps the king in power is usually a religious priest or group of priests who would then tell the people that the right for the king to rule is ordained by God or gods. But why would the people listen to the priests? Because they are the ones who give the information or knowledge of many things. and knowledge is power. By twisting and keeping information as a secret, one can gain power. This practice is not new. It has been done throughout the ages and continues to this day. For example, let's say there is solar eclipse coming, and in the olden days the knowledge of astronomy is still being held by a few people in the ruling class. The elites can say to the people they rule that if they don't do what they want, for example, pay more taxes, wage war for them, or anything else, they will darken the sun. Of course, the common people will do whatever they are asked to do, out of fear. The moment they share the knowledge with the common people, their power diminished. This is how they gain power over the people, by injecting fear. So, instead of asking directly for what it is they want, because they won't get it, they manipulate the public to think that they are getting what they want. This is the power of keeping knowledge a secret. This is even more powerful when they say it is for religious purpose, because after all, people react on what they believe. So, there you go. The rich become richer and the poor become poorer. Unfortunately, without the proper guidance, it is human's nature that the more powerful among us has the tendency to control and dominate the weaker. This kind of behavior can be seen even in children's playground, where stronger children who are not well educated and disciplined by their parents tend to bully weaker children. What happened to these bullies when they grow up? If they don't change their ways, of course they will stay the same as when they were children. This is human nature. And in the larger scale, this is what war is all about. The reason is because a group of people or a nation bullies another for whatever reason. Usually it is for land, oil, gold. Bottom line, it is always to have power to dominate a group of people or nation by force. Wars are always decided by the ruling class. Commoners like you and I generally fear wars. We just want to lead our lives in peace, don't we? So why are there constant wars on this planet of ours? The common people would prefer that any conflict to be resolved by way of diplomacy and mutual agreement, right? Common people don't like wars, and yet it's always the common people who end up getting killed in front lines, losing their families, their health, their houses, their lives, everything. And after a war, who actually benefited from it? Common people or the ruling class? So what? That's in the past, right? The monarchs of today's world are but a symbol, right? But is it? Queen Elizabeth II, head of state of the United Kingdom and of 31 other states and territories, is the legal owner of about 6,600 million acres of land, 1/6 of the Earth's non-ocean surface. She is the only person on Earth who owns whole countries and who owns countries that are not her own domestic territory. This land ownership is separate from her role as head of state and is different from other monarchies where no such claim is made. Norway, Belgium, Denmark, etc. The value of her land holding is circa 17.6 trillion pounds sterling, approximately. This makes her the richest individual on Earth. However, there's no way easily to value her real estate. There is no current market in the land of entire countries. At a rough estimate of $5,000 an acre, and based on the sale of Alaska to the USA by the Tsar, and of Louisiana to the USA by France, the Queen's land holding is worth a notional of $33 trillion or about 17.6 trillion pounds sterling. Her holding is based on the laws of the country she owns, and her land title is valid in all the countries she owns. Her main holdings are Canada, the second largest country on Earth, with 2,467 million acres, Australia, the seventh largest country on Earth with 1,900 million acres, Papua New Guinea with 114 million acres, New Zealand with 66 million acres, and the UK with 60 million acres. She is the world's largest landowner by a significant margin. The next largest landowner is the Russian state, with an overall ownership of 4,219 million acres and a direct ownership comparable with the Queen's land holding of 2,447 million acres. The third largest landowner is the Chinese state, which claims all of Chinese land, about 2,365 million acres. The fourth largest landowner on Earth is the federal government of the United States, which owns about 1/3 of the land of the USA, 760 million acres. The fifth largest landowner on Earth is the King of Saudi Arabia with 553 million acres. Wow! How can a person be that rich? Well, circa 795 million people in the world do not have enough food to lead a healthy, active life. That's about 1 in 9 people on Earth. The vast majority of the world's hungry people live in developing countries, where 12.9% of the population is undernourished. Now, most countries in the world today are not ruled by monarchs. We have elected presidents instead. They do have the same role as the monarchs, however, that is, to govern. And what is the definition of government? It comes from Old French gouvernement, meaning to control, direction, administration. Wait, what about protection, prosperity? That's not there. So the election system is unfortunately not much better. All of the presidents in the world started as a politician. We all know how politicians are. Most of them are more than willing to lie in order to be elected for a higher position. What makes you think they'd change once they really achieve the ultimate power to rule a country? Now, is the idea of our leaders and other powerful people joining together and meeting in secret to determine the fate of a nation according to their will and feeding us false information so hard to believe? The fate that they are talking about is not necessarily for the good of the people. In fact, as for the conspiracy theory goes, it is actually to dominate globally and use the common people for the advantage of the ruling class. Is this impossible? Like in the example of the darkening of the sun in the past, it has been suspected by many and for a long time that people in power, i.e. the elites and world leaders, create secret societies or occult societies where they keep certain knowledge to themselves. The secret societies control and rule behind our governments. Of course, there are some leaders who intend to rule for the good of the people, but these people usually get killed. They know that a large group of people can be kept in check by a belief system given by a tiny elite group which keeps some knowledge to themselves. This is why a lot of powerful elite operates in secret. In fact, the word occult does not mean evil, it simply means secret. We are not supposed to know the secret of the elites. Once you find out and verify the secrets, you'll be shocked at how the elites control you. If you don't think that's possible, then can you explain what President John F. Kennedy was talking about during his speech in President and the Press in 27 April 1961? Here's a part of his speech. The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweigh the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that It combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlines. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. Who does he mean with the opposition around the world that is monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence? What and who are these secret societies, secret oaths, and secret proceedings? What is a secret society? This is the definition according to Wikipedia. A secret society is a club or an organization whose activities, events, and inner functioning are concealed from non-members. The society may or may not attempt to conceal its existence. The term usually excludes covert groups such as intelligence agencies or guerrilla insurgencies that hide their activities and memberships but maintain a public presence. The exact qualifications for labeling a group a secret society are disputed, but definitions generally rely on the degree to which the organization insists on secrecy and might involve the retention and transmission of secret knowledge, the denial of membership or knowledge of the group, the creation of personal bonds between members of the organization, and the use of secret rites or rituals which solidify members of the group. That doesn't sound too bad, right? But why did President J.F. Kennedy warn us about the secret societies if they are harmless? Why was he assassinated at the apex of pyramid without capstone from a bird's eye view, not long after that speech in 22nd November 1963? Who assassinated him? Okay, let me just tell you that there is a power in this world, a power that is twisted, sinister, malignant, and plain evil, a master of illusion, deceitful, elusive, highly seductive, and really dark in nature. Erroneously and paradoxically, today the people who serve this dark power are called collectively as the luminous ones, the enlightened ones, or the illuminated ones, the Illuminati. Dear fellow truth seekers, that is the end of the first chapter. If you are really interested to find out what is really going on in the world, please stay tuned for the next chapters. In the meantime, thank you for watching and hope to see you in my next video.